Hi, I'm Alana. Welcome to another video. In today's video we're doing a get ready with me for church. So, what have I been up to? Well, lately I've been listening to some interviews on this YouTube channel called Soft White Underbelly. And what Soft White Underbelly is basically, it was created by this photographer called Mark Laita, and he basically interviews people. It's a lot of homeless people from Skid Row. So he interviews homeless people and gets them to tell their stories. And they're all really beautiful, really interesting interviews. So some of them are drug addicts, meth addicts or heroin addicts or other kinds of addicts, and then they have a lot of homeless people and prostitutes also, but then also just people with incredible stories. The other night I listened to this one that was an interview with this man who survived John Wayne Gacey, that serial killer. So he told his story of having an encounter with John Wayne Gacey when he was 15 and how he narrowly escaped. So he basically was, he encountered John Wayne Gacey when he was 15 years old, and John Wayne Gacey invited him to have a beer with him, and he was like, yeah, sure. So then they went to this motel room, and then John Wayne Gacey started to get weird, and he brought out these pornographic magazines, but they all had boys in them, and he was like, yeah, do you like that? And he was like, wait, what's going on? And then John Wayne Gacey brought out a box full of handcuffs and ropes and chains and stuff, and then this guy was like, wait, what is happening? And then he looked and he saw that in the bathroom, the bath was filled with ice, and he was like, okay, I'm not safe. And then he managed to narrowly escape John Wayne Gacey. And then imagine finding out years later that that man who you encountered that night was John Wayne Gacey, and he buried bodies under his house. So that was just one of the interviews that I listened to on Soft White Underbelly. It's basically interviewing people from the streets and the underworld, and he's a really good interviewer, and there are heaps of really beautiful stories. I listened to another one with a girl named Asriyah, and she was molested by her father, and then she ended up getting pregnant to her stepbrother. So she had a baby with her stepbrother, and some of these people he interviews a number of times. They have a number of separate interviews. I think he pays them however much for the interviews, but so he has a number of separate interviews with this Asriyah girl, and so you get to know these people's stories. And this Asriyah girl, she's actually really pretty, but she got face tattoos, so she kind of needs to get her face tattoos removed. But without the face tattoos, she's actually really pretty, and her whole life has been so hard. Her dad molested her, and then she had a baby with her stepbrother, and they had to move to a different state where you were allowed to have a baby with your brother. So she had the baby, and the baby, well, they said that it turned out pretty healthy. And then she got her stepbrother's name tattooed on her face. His name is Joshua, so she got Joshua tattooed right there, on her cheek. So I think she regrets that decision. But then they also interviewed Joshua, and he seems like such a tosser. He seems like such a liar and such a manipulative tosser. But yeah, so her story was really interesting. But I think my favorite person on Soft White Underbelly would have to be a person called Rebecca. And so Rebecca is a homeless transgender crystal meth addict who lives on Skid Row, and she's like really, really, really broken, like so broken that her videos are actually like quite hard to watch. But Rebecca is a homeless transgender crystal meth addict on Skid Row, and like she's actually got such a like beautiful soul and such a heart of gold. So I've actually fallen a bit in love with Rebecca. If you watch her videos, like you can see that she actually has a really beautiful soul and like a really beautiful personality, but it's just hidden under like so many layers of pain and trauma. But so Mark Laita, he interviews all these people and like gives them the opportunity to tell their stories, and it's a really good channel. Like another one that I listened to the other night was an interview with a woman called Frenchie, who is an escort, and she tells her story of like how she accidentally went home and had a threesome with a couple. I don't know how you accidentally have a threesome, but she accidentally went home with a couple and had a threesome with them, and then they paid her because they thought she was an escort. She was like, what? And then she like fell in love with the idea of having sex for money, and so she joined some like brothel, and she speaks really passionately about being an escort. I've never actually heard anyone so passionate about selling their own body for sex, but she seems like a very lively spirit and a very fun girl, and she has a pretty interesting story. I mean, her story had like 8 million views, so it's definitely worth a listen. And it's really interesting like hearing all these different life stories, like all these different perspectives and different experiences, and there are tons of them. Like the channel is huge and there are so many of them, and they all have like, well, almost all of them have like a lot of views. Like there are so many of his videos that have at least 1 million views. So he's a really good interviewer, and yeah, it's a really good channel. It's called Soft White Underbelly. So that's what I've been listening to at the moment. What else have I been doing? So I'm writing an assignment at the moment for the subject that I'm doing right now, and I have to create a behaviour modification plan for a fictional person with a fictional problem. So I've created Fictional Annie, and Fictional Annie is addicted to vaping cannabis. So I need to create a behaviour modification plan to help Fictional Annie stop vaping cannabis, because she's about to start nursing school, and so if she wants to accomplish her dream of becoming a nurse, she will need to be able to quit vaping cannabis. So I've created a behaviour modification plan for Fictional Annie based on operant conditioning principles. So I'm putting her on a fixed interval schedule of positive reinforcement where every 7 days she will receive the opportunity to receive an Uber Eats voucher of $150 if she abstains from vaping weed for those 7 days. So, and the whole behaviour modification plan goes for 6 months. So, and when I tell my mum this, she's like, oh no, poor Annie, like I hope she can quit cannabis. I'm like, no, she's a fictional person. My mum gets so upset and feels so much empathy for these fictional people. So yeah, I'm hoping that I will manage to successfully get Fictional Annie off the cannabis so that she will be able to complete her dream of becoming a nurse. So I've been diving into the literature about vaping and like reading all about the harms of vaping and like how to help someone quit vaping. And like, remember just a few years ago when we thought that vaping was harmless, and now everyone's addicted to vaping instead of smoking cigarettes? So yeah, thank you for getting ready with me for church today. You're beautiful, you're perfect, I love you, God bless you. If you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.